DataFest Africa. Amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll keep the event going. All right. Now we're gonna have a fireside chat. All right. And we have our moderator already in the building, and we have our panelists also here with us. All right. So I'm gonna invite our moderator up stage now. Gift, please come off stage. A round of applause for Gift as it comes off stage. Round of applause, guys. Let's celebrate ourselves. Thank you.
Guy, we have Jeremiah, the son, like AI shared, that is a PhD, he has PhD guy, and he's also a researcher. So he's talking from the research perspective of contributing to open source. We have Favor. Favor is has been a 2 times recipient of Google Summer of Code. Yeah, there are several open source internships that pays up to $3,000 to $7,000, right? People will be talking from my experience in the AI perspective through Google Summer of Code, right? We have Mayowa, right? Mayowa will be talking from the perspective of being a contributor to one of the top AI library in the world, right? Top 3, which is launching. Yeah, so we share experience. And we have Saeed. Several people in this space that probably, I'll say beginners that some of them are still in school, some of them are like probably they finished school some years ago, very few years ago. And some of them probably when they were in school, they don't really have the idea of open platform for contributing to AI in terms of open source like Outreach, Google Summer of Code, Google Summer of Docs, which I think have been paused now, MLH, like the one Paul got into, and several ones. So I would like you to give us a random and a high-class overview of how to get a step-by-step approach on how to get into this open source internship that you get. Everyone probably wants to start any, like that's beginners in the space want to start collecting like $3,000 to $7,000 3 months, you get. So I know there are people interested in that. So can you give us from your perspective from the Google Summer of Code, how you got into it, how you are able to navigate this as a stronghold and a powerhouse lady in the space, because it's not very easy to get lady in these spaces. So we want you to share your perspective here.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. I'm so glad to be here. So yeah, Google Summer of Code and just open source programs. The first time I heard about Google Summer of Code or this open source programs was at Oscar Fest 2022. He talked about Google Summer of Code, Outreach, LFX, that is a Linux Foundation. So like they talked about a lot of it, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to apply for this because before then I've actually been interested in open source. I started by trying to participate in open source Fridays and just trying to know about open source, and then they talked about that and I was like, I was going to apply. I actually applied in 2022. But the thing about these programs is that you cannot just wake up and say, oh, I want to apply. You actually have to prepare. So when I heard about Google Summer of Code, application had already was about to start. I was like, I'm still going to apply. I just came up with the proposal and I submitted. Of course, I got rejected. I was like, no problem. Next year is there. I applied in 2023, I got accepted. I applied in 2024, I got accepted. So the thing about these open source programs, like I said, you have to prepare. You cannot just come up and say you want to apply. Because for Google Summer of Code, at least I know they start with announcing the organizations that participate in Google Summer of Code, and it will be announced like 3 weeks before they actually open up application for people to apply. So in that 3 weeks, you're supposed to reach out to the organizations, because the organizations are going to put out projects. So you're supposed to reach out to the organizations, check the projects. Trust me, there are a lot of organizations. I think over 190 in 2024. So like there are a lot of organizations. You have to check for the different projects, and then try to come up with one that, oh, this is the one I think I want to contribute to. This is the one I want to work on. So some organizations will put out different projects like based on different fields, and then you now look at the project and say, okay, I'm interested in this one, I'm interested in that, based on your skill, and then you out to the mentors of the projects, and then be able to say, oh, okay, this is what I want to do, or that kind of thing. And then when they open the application, you now write a proposal to apply for the project in that organization. Then you can now either get selected or rejected. So that is my own idea for how Google Summer of Code works. I think for Outreach, first of all, submit an initial application. For fact, Outreach, I applied for Outreach 3 times. I got rejected 3 times. But yeah, it's fine. So you have to submit an initial application, and then I think when your initial application gets accepted, you will now contribute for a period of time to a project, and then after contributing, you submit a final application. So it's that final application that will determine if you will get accepted into Outreach. So that's what I know about Outreach. So it has 2 different things. So like I said, the main thing about these programs is preparation. And you have to communicate like with the people that put out the projects, the organizations that put out the project, because you cannot just go in and apply like to be hard. You'll probably take someone that has been in constant communication with them. There's someone that they probably did not see anything about, did not reach out at all, and then they just saw your application. So yeah, thank you.
First time I heard about open source program, fun fact, was not actually 2022, because 2022 there was an event, Oscar Bezzi, collocated event called DataFestAfrica. I was actually the one that, like, me and Rising facilitated that part, which is part of the reason that led to this conversation now. Yeah, because I noticed in the space that a lot of people don't talk about open source AI. Like, definitely the research side in AI. You see the poach researchers abroad with like $1 million. They are doing it like football these days, where they poach people like Mbappe. You get so they poach researchers, but open source research has been something that is now gaining ground with the likes of Hugging Face, that they are becoming like household in this space, which is why I feel like it's a conversation that needs to be had from all perspectives. So thank you, Favour. Let me move to Mayowa. I hope you are enjoying the conversation. Yeah, and you are learning something. Yeah, so let me move to Mayowa. Yeah, so Mayowa is from your experience as one of the first and top contributors for launching, right? I'll say, how were you able to get the incentive to be like, okay, I want to pick launching to contribute to, why not Lama Engine? Why not other things? And several things in this space. And for a beginner that is looking to maybe, I think several people is thinking now that, okay, I need to contribute to LangChain, I need to contribute to several things. For a beginner in this space, how can they go about finding some hidden project that likely in the future will become bigger than LangChain? Because I think that's more important. It's like banking on something that is not big yet. It's just like investing. So that's the best time to invest. When eyes is not on that this thing, you will cash out big as an angel investor that you are. So how are you able to like contribute to LangChain from your experience? One. And the second question is, how will you say beginner looking to contribute to several ML open source tools and several ones just coming up in the space? I won't say DB, for example, that they can actually pick and contribute to. I think it was an overview around that. Yeah.
So you have to think, like, use the word investing in a way. You have to have the same mindset as an investor. For example, so in the early stages when I first came across LangChain, I think it was like 10 downloads a month. At that time, there was like 15 of us helping in the Discord channel, maybe like 100 people in the community. Today, I think it's downloaded a couple million times a day. Right? So that's the first thing. You're looking for something that no one is really paying attention to too much, right? And you want to be involved in the community. You can't just be peripheral, on the outside. Like, at the end stage, I was in Discord, I was helping answer people's questions, onboard them. It's almost like you work for them without working for them. I don't know if that makes sense. And so the more you're in the community, the more people start to say, oh, can I do this, can I do that? Then you can now make PR, or you build relationships with the maintainers and everything. Because you are so deep inside the community, you're able to see the challenges that people have. But you also have to look at things from a macro perspective. What's currently trending, what are things going on socially. For example, right now, if you're paying attention, different governments are doing different things to, crack down on identifying people in terms of privacy. So that's where the trend me I'm paying attention to as an investor, because I can see, a new trend of privacy solutions that are going to start coming up. So that's one of the things, like you can't just be so focused on the technical side that you lose sight of what's going on the macro scale, what's going on in the economy, what's going on socially, the new demographics of users, Gen Z, you have to pay attention to all of that. Then alongside that, you also have to look at what are you passionate about. So I think a lot of people put so much focus on the passion, on the technical, whereas this is like an intersection. And looking at the intersection of what you're passionate about, what skills do you have, or what skills are you willing to learn, what is the current trend going on the macro level, and is the intersection of all those things will help you identify the opportunities. You'll be able to see a community that maybe only has 100 GitHub stars, or you can see that it's the early stages of a new trend that's coming up. So you just try and contribute to a community that, if you try and contribute to LangChain now, they probably won't accept your PR. Like there's too much. So I'll say that's kind of the mindset behind it.
Yeah, thank you for that, answering that question. That's nice. Another thing, okay, I want to put the question in this way. I think part of your last tweet, from what I saw, I follow people tweets. You're like, a lot of people in the AI space, they are doing the same thing. Yeah, I know you tweeted something like that. That is just like, everybody is trying to build, not because they want to solve solution, that's the incentive I get from it, but more, they want to raise money from investor. So, related to open source, I'll say, what do you list as your top 3 I don't want to use the word underrepresented, but underrated open source projects now that I feel like, okay, they are gaining some sort of momentum, but they are not on the spotlight at the moment. These are like 3 to 5 ones. I feel like you can kind of look into them, even though they are not big like LangChain yet, or they are probably not big like the likes of Snowflake, Panda, DBT, and the rest. So these are the several ones that I can spotlight. Do you have any idea of that you've noted?
Yeah. So the first one is I'll say something like Firecall. I don't know if you heard of Firecall. Basically, use AI to, in combination with data scripting. So instead of just coding to extract data, you can tell AI what you want.
Okay.
Go to the web and extract actually create data sets for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so things like that, that's like combining traditional data scripting with AI. Companies will always need data. So how can you use AI to get that? Like I said, anything in the privacy, space for me personally, the way the world is going, Nigerian government is cracking down on us from January. UK, they are doing digital ID. So there's a lot of things coming in to kind of say invade our privacy, right? So any sort of solutions focus on that. The third thing too is the intersection of blockchain and AI. I would say will be very interesting as well. In terms of solutions that can integrate blockchain technology, obviously the ability to use LLMs and so on, but also the finance and the transparency that the blockchain has. I'll say will be big. So it's kind of looking at intersections of or niches of industries that are being ignored. But just to say when you're building another AI agent, it's getting very, you don't even know what the definition of agent is anymore. Everyone is confused.
Everybody has their definition.
Oh, exactly. So what is an agent? So is it a workflow? Is it automation? Is it autonomous? Is it AGI? So I think trying to think outside the box, not just copy what everyone else is doing, would be helpful.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Maiwa. So if you are looking for open source projects, I think you can note FireProd. For me, I'll say underrated project, I'll say you can note. Though they are on the spotlight already, we have the likes of Nancy, we'll be having that session later that contributed to, I think, metadata. Yeah, I used to know someone, a friend that's metadata, yeah, so contributed to metadata. There are like several projects like that you can just note in the space that you can pick up. And there are several Africans also working on several AI projects. Shout out to Boris, shout out to Rising, shout out to, and several people in the space, the likes of Danko.js, the likes of DataFestAfrica, there's also Steven. Yeah, there's also Steven. Yeah. So I'll be moving to Said now. Yeah. So Said Blue is like our celeb. The Blue on Twitter. I've known Said for a while now, even before the likes of Young City I think when we attended an event, there was an hackathon you did that was you and your life, exactly. Bluetooth. Yeah, exactly, Bluetooth. Yeah, we were together for that hackathon. So I've known Said for some time. Said is a builder. So my own thought is, as much as I knew that when we were in school at the point, with, I don't want to say several Sapa moments going on. Yeah, exactly. So what inspired, like, I will not say what inspired, can you walk us through the journey that brought about the need for Young GBT? And before you push out Young GBT, I know you've had some several projects that, it goes out on the spotlight. Do you think it's something that, do you think if you build this thing right now, it will take you to a lot of places? Was that incentive in your head? You feel like, oh, if I build this thing, maybe the minister will literally invite me for an event. Do you have this picture in your head? Or was it just a passion project that I just feel like, okay, I want to solve a problem and let me just have this done. So can you walk us through the journey on building Young GBT?
So whether it will do well or whether it won't do well, I cared about it, but I don't care about it so much. For me, it's more about me doing something that will blow my own mind, and will blow my own friends' mind. So that's how it is for me. So the Young GPT actually started from, I released a data set called Niger Web. And Niger Web started from me trying to give like an LLM for Nigeria. So when I released the data sets, because I couldn't build the model. I didn't have compute. So when I put out Niger Web data set, I kind of saw someone build a text-to-speech model, and I looked at what this guy did. I can also do something like this. So that was how Young GPT started. I wasn't thinking so much about the attention I would get from it. I was thinking about the fact that, oh, I've not worked on an LLM project before, and this sounds close to that. And if I can do that, it will probably increase my knowledge, and it will improve my resume, and I can use it to apply for other jobs. So that was the idea behind it. So for me, when I'm building projects, like I love growing as I build my project. The project I built before, the next one I'm building has to be better than that one to me. So that's how I think about my project. The way I get project is basically I just think around me. This thing I'm learning, how does it apply to a real world problem? So that's how I get projects I work on. Thank you.
So you mentioned, you said, for you are always working on something. So I know you don't have to give us an extensive overview of what you are currently working on. Can you say like, probably what you are working on, probably just scratch the surface. Don't go deep at the moment.
Okay, so basically what I put out, the project I put out previously was the GPT text-to-speech model. Yeah. I put it out on Hugging Face. But the model was just on Hugging Face. Being on Hugging Face is cool. Yeah. But like I'm thinking beyond a model being on Hugging Face. And now I'm thinking towards it being applied to the real world. Okay. Like everybody knows the GPT, but nobody's using it. Like people are using it, guys, but the average person just knows side builds the GPT. It's not using it. So that's what I'm looking towards currently.
Want to change the narrative?
Yes, of moving beyond putting stuff out on Hugging Face to impacting the average person.
Society.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I think that's a
nice. GPT is coming, sir. This is a good opportunity to
yes. Because I noticed, okay, also part of your last tweet I saw on Twitter was you mentioned something around you are currently improving on Young GPT. Or did I get a full picture? I know you tweeted something around that.
Yes. But like on the model now, I'm not currently working on models right now. I'm currently working on like an interface that people can use Young GPT. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working on.
Like an API.
And yes, people people have been asking for an API, but an API is not what I'm working on. Directly, but like you guys like what I'm working on. Actually, and maybe like in the next few months, I'll probably work on the beta model and all. But like I'm working on an interface for YanGPT. So this is a good opportunity for me to advertise. So watch out for YanGPT.
Yeah, watch out for
YanGPT.
after current state, like in Nigeria, like people know SAPA, right? So with the current state that you were in school and the idea of schooling in Nigeria is a lot of stress because I remember myself when I was a student, like you are not even at the point I was not even thinking that for me, fun fact, when I was in school, I was actually thinking of being a rapper. I know a lot of people find it weird. Yeah. I was popular in school for rapping and dancing, so that's just on the side. I didn't know I'll be an AI guy or something like that. So it was when I was getting close to like concluding school and yeah, because I studied computer science and all, I just felt like, okay, I need to do something around this place. So even with the state of things happening in school and several things, so are you able to shut the noise and able to build your focus on building YanGPT and finishing it? And how long did it take you from the ideation stage to the production stage?
I'm not someone who spends a lot, like I just spend like my normal this thing. So in school, I wasn't facing so much stuff. I could live my normal daily life. I had scholarships. I could live my normal life.
Collecting dollars, so...
No, scholarship from Nigerian company, so that yeah. And the scholarship were valuable initially, but economic crash and... So for me, SAPA is not so much of an issue because I don't overspend. And then eventually I'll still get to that level where I can overspend. So it's very easy for me to just focus on my grind. I know when I work on this thing, when I keep working at some point, I'll get to the stage where I can command like what I feel like I'm worth. Yes. So in school, right, I was a part-time mechanical engineering student and I was a part-time AI engineer. So anytime I'm in school, no mention AI near me. I'm reading my books. But once the school just closes, I'm working. Don't mention anything. School. If anybody's reading on my, I don't read this course. I'll just be looking at you because I'm not so interested in anything. School. So YanGPT ideation took about 3 months, and the good thing for me was that I was on holiday in that period. That was when I started, and eventually school resumed along the point, and we resumed virtually. So I was at home. I had enough time to keep working on stuff while I was at home. School has resumed, but at that time my head was so much what I was doing that I couldn't focus on school. It was when I was done with YanGPT stuff that I now took a step back and looked down. Where am I lagging behind in school? And I tried to catch up, but that was like one of my worst semesters. It wasn't that bad, but like by the standard I set for myself for school, it wasn't as much as I expected. So YanGPT took 3 months, and it took 3 months, but like 1 month before that, I was thinking about what I wanted to do with the problem. I was looking at it, I wasn't doing anything. I think it started one Friday night. I just took my phone. I just took my phone, opened Google Colab. I started searching how to build data sets, and it took 3 months before it got out. So I think the first 2 months was what I used to build the model. The last month was just me stepping back. So what can I do to build this thing? In fact, the first one I worked on was like the English text to speech. The Yoruba Igbo and Hausa text to speech took shorter time because I had done the other work of building the base model. I just had to fine tune on Yoruba, Igbo and Hausa. So it took about like 3 months to build the first version of YanGPT. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so in the global space, we've had several conversations where people start talking about, I would say Twitter, LinkedIn. I used to be very active on Twitter, though not like anymore. But I still follow up conversation on Twitter, where people tend to talk about the open, not like OpenAI, because OpenAI too is closed, you get. So the open source space of the open source AI space, more like will take over the closed. I don't know if you get where I'm trying to go. So what's your biggest misconception about open source AI generally from what you've seen in the global space playing? From the US to Europe to Asia. So what's your biggest misconception about AI? And where do you think Africa is at the moment as regards this conversation? And what's your thought around how we can get to this place in the next 5 to 7 years?
I don't think so. Anytime soon, I don't think open source is beating closed source. Because for an organization now, they put a lot of resource in building their own model. They have closed source organization have the resource more than open source organization. So they have the best research, they can pick the best researchers, they put a lot of resources into what they are building, and they are not putting it out there. They will never make it open source because they plan on making profit out of it. So I feel like they have enough computing power, they have enough data, they can build, like they have money to build anything they want to build. And I don't think people in the open source space has that strength. They don't. We can say China is building something, they are putting out stuff, but they are still lagging behind in a way. So I think closed source, I don't have open source, but I think they are closed source win. And I hope maybe as I keep working, I will change the narrative. But I think closed source still lead, and they will be leading anytime soon. But that doesn't mean open source is not necessary. Open source is very necessary. Because need people putting things out there, at least for cheap, that people can be using while they can't afford the closed source perspective. But I understand why people make things closed source. Yeah. So in terms of how Nigeria can catch up, I just keep putting stuff
Africa
can catch up. I think let's just keep putting stuff out there. Mr. A put stuff out there. Mr. B sees what A put stuff out there. He works on it and make it better. Put it out there. I feel like that's how we can keep just keep putting stuff out there. Whatever you do, no matter how small it is, put it out there. Put it open source. Someone else will pick it up, work on it, make it better. I feel like, and also I think organizations too have to like sponsor open source because you also need computing power. You need GPUs when you're building anything. So I feel like if more organizations can probably put money on the table, oh let's build this stuff, make it open source. I feel like
I think Meta is doing a lot of work in that aspect, right?
Yes, Meta, they have these grants stuff they do, and also they put out open source models out there. But I'm hearing rumors that Meta might be closing source their stuff. Hopefully it's not too sharp. Yeah, so I think that's my answer to the question. And before that's my answer to the question, yeah. Thanks.
So thank you. Do you get the question? Yes. So let's give it back, please. We're rounding up the session, sister. Hope you're learning something from this session. Because the aim of this session is to impact all sides of open source from all perspective. From maybe you are a beginner in this stage or just getting into this stage that you are a student and you are feeling like, okay, how can I make money through open source? The open source programs is there for you. Because for me, the first time I heard about open source program, I was out of school. Yeah, fun fact, there was a Twitter space I talked about open source program, and there is Zainab actually that applied, and I had several questions that applied for outreach and got it. Though the other side of like Nigeria school and other parts that stopped something. Yeah, but she got it. Yeah.
OpenAI started as right.
Yeah.
So I think that basically summarizes us. And I've seen it personally. I've seen projects that start open source. Everyone is there, community, and before you know it, you use it as a strategy to raise money and pivot into something commercial. So I think, as you mentioned, unfortunately, a lot of people in the open source space are eyeing exit opportunities. They are not really competent in the long run, especially when you're able to pay the bills and things like that. So I think that makes it very difficult to compete with the closed source tool from the beginning. It starts off commercial and the money making side. So hopefully, as I said, in the future there will be more support, especially in Africa, as more and more the government is trying to get involved and companies also support. Well, as long as everybody is eyeing, okay, how can I use this open source to get a job abroad, or how can I use it to, the consistency is not there. So the closed source.
So I've seen cases, and I've like worked with like US and European companies. So I've seen cases as a consultant. I've seen cases where the community approach from the open perspective starts the incentive. Then in the long run, they start distributing some features. I don't know if you get me. So more like if you have maybe if you run this 20 times, you can run this 20 times, but if you start running it from like 21 times, you need to pay like $20. I don't know if you get the perspective. So it's more like the open community, because there's something called open community. So the open community perspective is to draw attention. Then when it gets a lot of, they call it, I think in marketing they call it awareness. When you get a lot of awareness, when you get to the retention and activation side, they start channeling into profit.
Yeah,
You want to say something?
even with line change.
Yeah.
After, I think the 6 month, next thing you saw benchmark 20 million raised. The 6 months after that, Sequoia 100 million raised. I mean, and everyone in the community was shocked because they thought this was a pure open source project. So that's the Silicon Valley strategy. You get free labor.
Okay.
You get.
Yeah. And when money starts coming into the conversation, because of you start dealing with what the investor wants versus what the community wants and what the founder wants. Yeah, so I think thanks for answering that question, Mayowa. So, Favor, can you also say anything around that?
Yeah, for carrying on with the question.
So the question is more like from the closed and open source perspective, like you see people talking about you hear OpenAI is called OpenAI, but they are not actually open. I don't know if you get that kind of thing. So why is it called OpenAI? It's supposed to be closed AI. So from the perspective of, do you feel like this set of people that they are building, like closeness around what they are building, will win over the people trying to be open about everything? Like maybe the Asian guys, like China and several people in this space, like DeepSeek and so on. What's your thought around that? Yes, so that's it.
Okay, so my own thought is I don't necessarily think it's about winning per se, whether open source, whether closed source. I feel like everybody has how they want to impact, like what they think exactly they want to provide. So for open source, like they have said, most times for open source, like there may not be a lot of funding per se. And if someone is maybe sponsoring your startup or stuff like that, and that kind of thing, and they are getting investors and all those kind of things, and we don't like want to put it too out there, like make everything fully accessible. And even in the open source, like we said, it's probably not even everything that is out there. So
open source does not mean free. That's what a lot of people don't know.
So that's like I just said, I feel like the people that the OpenAI people, people that are making their stuff closed, or people that are making it open source, I feel like they're doing it based on what they want to impact or which field they want to impact, or maybe they think. So now, some people that maybe put out the model, they'll be like, oh, okay, let's say from Masakami now, okay, be like, oh, if people contribute and like do stuff to this, it will actually make it larger, open source. Okay, so my own thought is I don't necessarily think it's about winning per se, whether open source, whether closed source. I feel like everybody has how they want to impact, like what they think exactly they want to provide. So for open source, like they have said, most times for open source, like there may not be a lot of funding per se. And if someone is maybe sponsoring your startup or stuff like that, and that kind of thing, and they are getting investors and all those kind of things, and we don't like want to put it too out there, like make everything fully accessible. And even in the open source, like we said, it's probably not even everything that is out there. So
open source does not mean free. That's what a lot of people don't know.
So that's like I just said, I feel like the people that the OpenAI people, people that are making their stuff closed, or people that are making it open source, I feel like they're doing it based on what they want to impact or which field they want to impact, or maybe they think. So now, some people that maybe put out the model, they'll be like, oh, okay, let's say from Masakami now, okay, be like, oh, if people contribute and like do stuff to this, it will actually make it larger, open source system. You get that kind of thing. But maybe for a company that maybe they are doing something that is easy for someone to maybe duplicate and redo again, people want to be the best in whatever they are doing. So that's like I just said, I feel like it's based on the impact you feel like maybe the solution you want to provide or what you want to work on. So it's not about winning, it's just about, oh, okay, everyone doing something based on what they want to provide, the service they want to provide. If it's, you feel like, oh, if they make it open to the public, people can work on it and make it larger. Or if they make it just within their company, they'll be able to make it larger and make more impact. And then at the end, just making impact in AI in their own different way.
Yeah, so thank you very much. intersection perfectly from the African perspective of researchers and engineering, like putting the intersection, because a lot of times the things in the AI space, from what I've seen, the things they work like differently. Several people just be like open research or anything around research, they don't really understand. They feel like, okay, engineering is the core part. And the thing is, a lot of things in the AI space these days that people tend to praise are actually from the research perspective. They're making a lot of things happen now. A lot of people don't know that, but when it's on the spotlight, you get just like front end and back end. On the spotlight, people be like, wow, this is nice. So how do you, the intersection can come together in a good way, and you can all sing and work together? Because I feel that will move the AI space forward and community.
Yeah, good question. So the truth is, whatever is happening right now with AI has been decades of research.
Okay.
And actually, I dare say open research. Archive papers was code, it sort of like pushed the frontiers of the models we are seeing. Hugging Face started in, so it's a bit like the master when it started. And they were all more, they are researchers. Coding AI was like a lecture that actually taught me. And so they were all researchers in this time. So I think the intersection here is that they get to work with engineers, right? Now, just for the show, how many of you are interested in research? Please, there's no money in research, let's just keep that. But you're still interested in research, just as I am. You see, quite clear, right? But then, where this intersection should come in, should be more researchers coming up with ideas and then pushing out. And then engineers are the ones that sort of like optimizing it. So for instance, the first speaker was talking about cost, right, of these models and everything. But the truth is, research is already way past that. There are actually some models coming out. There are small models. They call them SLMs. I don't know if you have them. Now those are the ones that I guess in the next 3 to 5 years they will rule, right? And they have very low memory footprint and low cost. But most of like the world right now don't know about this because they are still at the research stage. It's still like ideation. So I think the where I believe people should need to think about is research engineering, right? And I don't know if people know about this, but it's actually a career field, right? You get to like engineer some of these things, like what the side mentioned. You develop the model. Now he has left the model, but think about it. You can actually optimize the model to make it to have lower footprint, and these are all research questions, right? So I think the question should be how to like having a community where this, all these different expertise come into place and can, push out. So, but I think one question one answer I wanted to give was regarding what Africa can contribute. The truth is this: there's a lot we can do, and one of the things is data, right? For instance, when I made that this work, we actually had to first, do the data first, and that's the most important thing. In my medical imaging research, we actually collected actually the largest, I don't know if you know, DataFestAfrica is one of the largest medical imaging agencies, actually in Africa, and it's from Nigeria. So we had to first gather the data, right? And I think this is where Africans can actually contribute in global space, contributing in terms of data. And once you have the data, you also get this, you get to work on your data first, and publish it, and that improves the global representation of African researchers. So,
yeah, so thank you for that question. Yeah, so I think the data side, we'll end this session soon. The data side is a very important side. It's part of the reason why lately I've been doing a lot of things around data engineering, because at the end of the day, especially from the African perspective, there is a lot of data gap, like my friend Ayo, you always say. Especially if you want to work in like maybe senior AI engineer in the fintech space, you see a lot of things that you will just be shocked. If you are not careful like this, they should not arrest you because you are trying to do one of these things. Yeah, so there's that part. So an actual point on this conversation is probably myself on Twitter. I'll be sharing like their GitHub as after the event, several GitHub or several open source contributors in the space.
these are just some set of open source contributors in Africa. We have the likes of Samayo. Samayo is a big contributor, sitting right here in the front in the open source team. We have the likes of my very good friend, Rising in Denmark, extremely big. He's not really out there. If you see me in the open space, it's probably because of Rising. Yeah, I'm not really an outside person. We have the likes of Boris, we have the likes of Blessings, and we have the likes of David Opari. We're doing a lot of things personally in the AI engineering side, and we have Nancy also, that's contributing to the data engineering and analytics open source side. So we'll be pushing up this GitHub account so that you can follow up conversations with questions as regard open source and so actually so thank you and thanks for having us. We hope everyone enjoyed the conversation today.